Let's upgrade Victoria to her max level, then play some matches with her in Tour 7 of Tennis Clash, a sports game published by Wider Live Studios. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel Gameplay 265 and to turn on the bell if you like this video. So the moment has come. I have collected at last the 3 missing cards to upgrade my dear Victoria from level 12 to level 13, which is the max level for characters in Tennis Clash, as you know. So let's get those 5 extra points for the total power. Those 5 extra points may be helpful to give me some tiny boost in some situations, I guess. Even if a 78 forehand is not much stronger than a 77 one, of course, I feel that it can just give a tiny bit more confidence when entering the court of high tours with a level 13 Victoria. I'm going to play the first match with a high serve 2 strong hand style. I was lucky enough to get a Victoria playing at the same time. I say lucky because obviously I have more chance versus a Victoria than versus a Kaito in high tours, especially when I play with the high serve 2 strong hands where Kaito's agility could be much more dangerous than Victoria's. So my opponent chose the choker course, which is a good choice versus high serve players. He had more agility and stamina, 2 strong hands too, so I will only have the serve as an advantage. So attacking is what I chose to do, and is what Victoria can do best, of course. And even without a very fast swipe, I put my opponent in a difficult position right from the start of the match, because even when the blue bar next to my Victoria is not full, well, her shots are still stronger than if they were hit by my Kaitos. Don't forget that I hit my forehand with a 78 stat and my backhand with a 73 one, and that's totally different from my Kaitos 2-hand stats, which are 64 of forehand and 69 of backhand. And that's why you can see that my not too strong shots can still annoy my opponent, especially because he was playing with Victoria, who has lower agility and stamina than Kaito. So the good thing with a high serve is that even if I was not hitting it above 200 kilometers per hour, it doesn't allow the opponent to make a very strong return. And that means that I can keep the initiative almost all the time on my returns, whether it's after the weak serve of my opponent or it's after my strong serve. So the match has been finished, but I'm going to talk a bit about the initiative things, well, because it deserves to be focused on. Indeed, after the weak serve of my opponent, he has to counter a strong return from my Victoria's forehand, so his blue bar can't be very strong. And that's a good opportunity for my Victoria to keep hitting strong shots, and if she's accurate enough, any of her shots can end up being a winner. And when it's after my strong serve, my opponent can't return a very strong shot, so here again I can seize the opportunity to hit back a stronger return and keep the initiative, and my opponent will here again have to play defensively until he can find a solution to invert the balance of power. So I kept the initiative from the start until the end of the match thanks to my Victoria. Okay, so I played the second match versus a volleyer. Crazy Ball is far from being a noob. I have seen this player a lot in Tour 7 practice with volley. And well, I was put in difficult positions quite a lot of times when playing with Kaito. And now with Victoria, well, obviously it's different, because Victoria is not what volleyers prefer to face. They obviously prefer the 2 weaker hands of Kaito, especially when Kaito is playing with the antioxidants, which is my case, instead of the Kabolo, because then they can target the forehand of Kaito, which is his weaker hand. Here 78 and 73 of hands, while the volleyer can only be disturbed, and that was the case with Crazy Ball, who has chosen to very recently to start to play with Leo instead of Diana. So he was playing with Diana, who gave him more agility and volley stat, and now he's trying with Leo because everybody is using Leo now. Alright, so I play versus a high serve big forehand player in this third match. Well, I start with a dirty shot. I shouldn't have caught that, but well, I didn't expect it right from the start of the match anyway. His this Victoria started to lead quite fast and hit some aces quite easily, even when she was not serving very fast, simply because my Victoria's agility is very low. And this is the case for the agility of this high serve player too, of course. You can't have a good serve stat and a very good agility at the same time, even if you put the ballistic on. Alright, so obviously, knowing that this opponent has to kind of cover his backhand, which is much weaker than his forehand, so he has to anticipate a lot for my shots towards his backhand side. He has to be there much more often to anticipate for my hits there, so as to turn around and hit with his forehand. So to outflank this high serve, big forehand style, you can now and then hit on their forehand because they have the tendency to cover their backhand, so they will be far from their forehand side. So I played this fourth match versus Kaito, having very good stats. So I was using the antioxidants card for this match to see what I could do with a slightly better stamina, and well, be prepared to see a lot of enforced errors from both players in this match. And talking about enforced errors is mainly because my opponent was doing a lot of enforced errors that I came out of this match alive, I think. Because, well, with this kind of stat, with those two hands that are very strong for a counter puncher, very normally, my opponent should let me know absolutely no chance to stay in the match, to control it or whatsoever. Okay, so I try to survive a bit by some winners. I was a bit surprised that my opponent didn't take the choker course, but well, he probably have seen that the choker course has lost its efficiency lately. Yeah, I was hitting that shot quite late, and I was surprised that the app still registered my shot instead of letting it go past my Victoria. Alright, so as you can see, my opponent is starting to hit a lot of enforced errors, like here. That's really a pity. That's not good for the show, of course. But, well, I'm not going to complain, of course. But because a win, even an ugly win, is still a win, but it's not very nice. I would have preferred to have a clean match with very few enforced errors, of course. Like the first one versus another Victoria, but well, that was versus a Victoria. So when I saw the stats, I told you, when I saw the stat of this Kaito at the start of the match, I was saying to myself, what, again? Because that's very often the case. Whenever I enter to 8 with Victoria, I match very often with overpowered Kaito whenever I go there, and that I hope to be matched with volleyers. So here is a slightly lower stat Kaito, who can obviously still annoy me. And here again, this opponent didn't choose to counter with a choker quartz, even if he had enough stamina to do so. That was a bit surprising. I wouldn't have chosen the choker quartz here. Alright, so things started quite well for me in the start of the match, but then I started to commit an enforced error. My opponent didn't position his Kaito enough here, and I was pretty surprised to hit an ace with a 156 km/h serve only. So I love that, to be able to make strong returns and then hit accurate on the line shots for winners. That's exactly what is Victoria made for. And my opponent ended the match with another unforced loss. It's too bad, but well, I guess that some of those unforced errors are due to the fact that Victoria's shots are strong enough to disturb them. Alright, let's open this grand bag. What can we have? Nothing special. And that's normal because I have maxed out all common and rare cards except some 2/8 cards. So I can only get maxed out cards. Anyway, so let's finish the matches with another match versus Crazy Ball, who was training at this time that I decided to test my new maxed out Viktoria into 7. Yeah, I don't understand those love returns versus Viktoria. They can be understood if he was hitting them versus a short character like Kaito, but versus Viktoria, who is much taller, it will not work. She will never hit that overhead volley. Anyway, that's cool. I had even more time to control my shots then. And all the passing shots are much easier to hit with Viktoria because, well, her forehand loves that, absolutely loves that. And there's no reaction possible for this opponent, especially because his volley stat is not very high, so that was not easy for him. So yeah, he likes to serve that way, make this soft, slow serve. And well, it could be disturbing a bit, but at first, but then when you get used to it, it's even easier to hit all your shots. On his serve, well, that was the last match. As you can notice that all matches didn't last very long, and that shouldn't be the case when you play with Viktoria. You attack a lot, you don't let enough time for your opponents to breathe. Okay, so here you are going to see the different cards that I use for the different lineups seen in this video. So this is the one with the high serve, 2 strong hands. So my serve stat is not very high, 68, because I didn't put the sprint on, but the resistance band. Okay, so I could have another choice, which is the aggressive, the low serve aggressive baseliner style. But this one, very honestly, doesn't work a lot. Versus, above all, when I'm matched with overpowered Kaito, you know, who are too agile and has too much stamina. Okay, so this is another one, a low serve aggressive baseliner too, but with more stamina. But even then, well, this Viktoria can't not really fight back versus overpowered Kaito, and because she doesn't have the big advantage of a very strong forehand in that setup, well, that's not really worth playing with that. So as you can see, stamina at 42 and agility of 89 for this setup. Let's remember those figures: 89 agility and 42 stamina. And we are going to compare very quickly that with a setup of Kaito having this, 99 agility and 61 of stamina. That is to show you why Viktoria is so inferior to Kaito in high tours. Well, I hope you enjoy watching me play and win some matches with Viktoria, who has just been maxed out in Tennis Clash, a sports game published by Wildlife Studios. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel Gameplay 365 to stay tuned for new videos.